This is Math 1, Lesson 1.2 on order of operations. And this first 6 problems are the warm-up. So go ahead and work the warm-up problems and pause the video and then check to see how you did afterwards. Okay, so hopefully you're done with problems 1 through 6. I'm going to go ahead and start working through them. For this first one, this is going to be a war. And so we have more negatives than positives. So negatives win. So -2 would be our answer. For the next problem, this is an alliance of negatives. They both are negative values, and so they would combine together to make a -7. Alliance of negatives. All right, for our next problem, looking at -4 plus 7, that is definitely a war, positives versus negatives, and there are more positives here. So the positives are going to win, and there should be 3 positives left over when you do 7 minus 4. This next problem here looks like another alliance. This is an alliance of negatives, and so they're just going to team up. 3 negatives and another 4 negatives is going to give you a total of 7 negatives. Now this one here has something kind of interesting. We haven't really talked about this yet, but here we have a negative followed by another negative. And so it kind of brings an interesting situation. So if we do -9, and then minus a -1 actually is a +1. So we're going to go ahead and put a +1 there. And this will wind up being a war. When negatives win, and there'll be 8 left over. And this one we can confirm on our calculator just to kind of show you, but you have to put it in a very specific way. And so for this one, you would put in your -9, right? And you have to use this bottom minus button for it. And then we're going to use this subtraction, then a parenthesis, then a -1. And when I hit that answer, I do get -8. So your calculator knows that these 2 negatives, a negative, so a number that is assigned 2 negatives will actually become a positive. The negatives will cancel. All right, and then for our last one here, this is neither a war nor alliance because this is multiplication. So for multiplication, we multiply the numbers, we get a 12, and then is it positive or negative? Well, there's only 1 negative here, so there's nothing to cancel it because negatives cancel in pairs. That's our rule for multiplying and dividing. And so -12 would be your answer. All right, so the objective of today's lesson is we want to use the proper order of operations to evaluate expressions. So that's what our goal is. And before we get into that, I want to talk about what's the difference between an expression and an equation. So with an expression, the first thing is it does not have an equal sign. Does not have an equal sign, and then you can simplify. Let me change that. I apologize. Let's just say can be simplified. Simplified. So you can simplify an equation, you can simplify an expression. Equations do have an equal sign. And equations can be solved. So when you're given directions, with an expression, usually the directions are to simplify. And our warm-up, we simplified these expressions. Notice they don't have equal signs. And so you can simplify those. An equation would have an equal sign, and we solve equations. And we'll get to that later on in the course. And so we're going to be talking about simplifying expressions today as we talk about the order of operations. So we want another term to use rather than simplify is evaluate. So we can evaluate expressions and we can simplify expressions. We don't solve expressions. Solving is what you do with equations. So I just want to get some of that vocabulary defined for us. So let's consider this expression. So we have 4 minus 2 And since it's next to a parenthesis, that's multiplication, so 2 times 5. So the operations we see here is subtraction, right here, and then multiplication. All right. And so as we talk about these processes, just a reminder, what are all our mathematical operations? We kind of talked about this last class, so just a reminder, we have addition, subtraction, we have multiplication, and division. And then the other one we talked about in the last lesson was exponents. And just a reminder, exponents is really just repeated multiplication. Multiplication is just repeated addition. There are other operations, but these are the ones that we're going to be dealing with while we're using the order of operations. So if we simplify this expression, what would be the value? So when we look at this, there are a couple of ways that somebody might choose to do this. So what if you decided to subtract first? You did 4 minus 2 is 2, and then multiplied it times 5, you got 10. But you might have multiplied first. 4 minus, and then 2 times 5 is 10, and 4 minus 10 is negative 6. So depending on what you choose to do first will give you different answers. And that's a problem. We don't want different answers. We want, if somebody works a problem, we want everyone to get that same answer. We want consistency in that. And so an order had to be chosen. Like, what order do we do this problem? And so this answer here would actually be incorrect. The calculator, these calculators are great because they can do order of operations for us. So I'm just going to verify. So I'm going to put a 4, a minus 2, and in parentheses, a 5. So I made it look exactly like it looks on the paper. And when I hit enter, I do get negative 6. So this is the correct order of operations. The way we did this was incorrect. So the actual order of operations, we're going to talk about that on the next video. So please continue on to video 2.